You see that? Ace of base, I saw the sign. I'm sure every single person knows this video. The whole song, the sign that they were talking about that went right over your head, it was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's what it's all about. Manifesting your dreams on earth using the spiritual system that God said, don't touch it. Of course, it's the Egyptian Ankh. All these symbols are different ways to draw the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You can draw the six-pointed star. You can draw on the far left the flower of life, or beside it the seed of life, or the Egyptian Ankh. And I can show you many more symbols across the world. Mexico, Asia, every inch of the planet that isn't worshiping God has this symbol encoded in their artwork. They also have serpents all over the world too. Here's how the Rosicrucians and the alchemists did it. Actually, this image, I believe, was put together by an alchemist that the Rosicrucians were quite fond of. But I've seen this image quite a bit in Rosicrucian writings such as Manly P. Hall. But again, it's the same symbol. When you talk about the alchemists, this idea of turning lead into gold, they weren't talking about what you think. Lead into gold wasn't about taking the physical metal of lead and turning it into physical gold. That was for the outsiders that didn't understand the process. What they were talking about was a gold soul. They were talking about immortality, trying to find a method so the man could live forever. Now, obviously, you think, well, the alchemists didn't succeed, but in their heads, they thought they did. For the reason why is that they were able to transmute, change themselves from the inside out, so that when they would die, their spirit that was on the inside would live forever. This is what the gold soul was actually about. Shedding the skin like a serpent, right, when you die, and then the soul lives on forever. It's not what the Bible teaches. That must also mean that the Indian religions, Asiatic religions, because it's more than just India, they must also have access to the tree of life. So Christians are the only ones getting the hard walk where they have to live a life where they're trying to become better, repent, say their pleases and thank yous, act with humility. Why bother? Why not just do the 7 chakras, raise the Kundalini serpent, bring it right up to the base of your brain, and then start this process of changing yourself from the inside out? You see, the problem is you can't tell people that are like you on the inside because you can't see what's going on in people's minds. If someone was able to access this tree of knowledge of good and evil, they would look just like you on the outside, but on the inside, they're going to be wired very differently. Their nervous system is going to be sending this current up to their third eye, and they're going to have a direct connection, not to God, but to Satan. This was no different, though, with Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, he lived very close to the Catholic Church. As a matter of fact, he used to dissect bodies, and that's how he learned so much about the human body. But this drawing he did of the Vitruvian Man, this was a drawing of the Kabbalah. How? How can you make this into a bunch of balls and sticks? So you think you know Da Vinci and the Kabbalah. Benjamin Jacob Bloch, PhD, he's a doctor. You have to listen to him. He's a doctor. Check this out. When you take the Kabbalah on the right-hand side, take the Vitruvian Man on the left-hand side, merge the two together, you can see that the hands of the Vitruvian Man were holding on to wisdom, and on the other side, I'll say it in Hebrew because I'm more familiar with the Hebrew terms. In Hebrew, you have Chokmah, you have Bina, you have Chesed, and then you have Geburah. Those 4 spheres are where the hands went. And the feet were standing on top of Malkuth, which is kingdom. This illustration that Da Vinci did with the legs open, legs closed, and arms open like that, it was actually depicting the Kabbalah. So I guess all of these individuals have access to God's tree, and they're all living forever because they've overcame sin. That's ridiculous. Let's look at ancient tree symbolism across the world, because if this tree of knowledge of good and evil is something that you can find in all these different religions, I guess you'd probably see some tree symbolism talking about this tree of immortality. If we look at the Aztec religion, we see the 2 Aztecs, one on each side, and then what's in the center? This tree. Is this tree supposed to be the Kabbalah? Kabbalah is just one name for it. There's many different names. As a matter of fact, we're going to look at another name, which is called the Zohar. But you'll see each culture depicting this tree a little bit different, but all referring to the same thing. The Egyptians, we already caught them. We had the Egyptian Ankh. I mean, we had lots of different ways with the Osirian temple and the flower of life of identifying that this symbol, which became Earth's flag, was pointing back to the tree of knowledge of good and evil.